Dynasties in the NBA are dead. Now think about that for a moment. Michael Jordan's Bulls, they three-peated not once, but twice. The Showtime Lakers. Think about the Shaq and Kobe Lakers in the early 2000s, winning 3 times in a row. The Golden State Warriors with Steph, with KD, with Clay, with Draymond, winning 3 times in 4 years. Great teams like that, gone. A thing of the past. In fact, the last 6 NBA seasons, we've seen a new champion each and every year. And guess what? It's by design. Here is what the NBA is up to and why they're doing this. I'm Trevor Lane for the Basketball Bulletin. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on those notifications as well. All right, so here's what's going on in the NBA. The NBA has said dynasties, one team winning year after year after year after year. We're done with it. There is some appeal to having dynasty teams. People will tune in to see greatness. But the NBA, they're banking on the idea that what they need to have is they need to have parity. And what that is going to do is create fan buy-in. It's the same reason why they have the play-in tournament. Now, if it's January and your team is the 11th seed, you're still going to tune in. Why? Because as the 11th seed, you're not far off from moving up to, say, the 10th seed, and then you're right there. You're in the play-in, and who knows what's going to happen at that point. Years ago, if you were the 11th seed in January, you were checked out. You were done. Your team's over. You're looking forward to the draft. The NBA doesn't want that. They want fans to stay engaged year long. The same is true year in and year out. They don't want a team like the Sacramento Kings missing the playoffs 17 straight times. What they want is to take the teams at the top, make sure they can't stay there that long, and also make sure the teams at the bottom can't stay there either, bringing everybody closer to the middle and thus keeping fans engaged year in, year out, and throughout each season. So how they're doing this, primarily, it's through the new CBA. The way that it's working now, it has a 2-tier system. 2 tiers of more punitive penalties for crossing these thresholds. Right now, heading into this next season, it's going to be about $189.5 million is going to be the Tier 2 apron, which a lot of teams are going to look to as a hard cap, because if you cross that, guess what's going to happen? Well, not only can you not aggregate players in trades, not only can you not add cash into a deal, there's a number of other punitive measures, but your draft pick, if you go over that 2nd-tier apron 2 years in a row, your draft pick 7 years down the road automatically goes to the back of the 1st round. And in the NBA, you can't predict where your team's going to be 7 years from now. Most teams build out in a 3-year cycle or a 5-year cycle. So that in and of itself is a very big deterrent to stop teams from continuing to pay past that certain point. So think about it. If you're a team and you get good, you hit on a couple of draft picks, you hit on some free agent signings, you get good enough to win, you win the whole thing. What happens when teams are successful? Those players get paid. So there's going to become a cost associated with keeping that group together. Look what happened with the Denver Nuggets, last year's champions. Bruce Brown got a big offer from the Indiana Pacers. He's gone. The Denver Nuggets, rather than repeating as champions, they're sitting at home right now. The way this works is the NBA knows that talent ultimately with these tax tiers is going to get dispersed around the league because teams are going to have to make tough choices. You're going to get good, guys are going to get paid, and ultimately you're going to have to decide whether or not you can keep some of these players, and the NBA is banking that a lot of teams are going to decide, nope, these threats, these punishments, they are too stiff. We're going to have to let guys go, and that will disperse talent around the NBA, and that is going to push the teams at the top down a little bit, thus preventing dynasties, but also giving some talent to some of those teams that are at the bottom and bringing them back up to the middle. And once again, the whole goal, it's fan engagement. But there's another piece to this too, and that is the way the game's being played. It's being played in a very different style than it used to be. If you look 10 years ago, and you look at how many threes were being taken, the team that led the NBA in threes 10 years ago, the Houston Rockets, if you shot the same number of threes as the three-point leader back then, today, you'd be dead last by a long shot. And what that has done is it's created a much more spread out game. It's created a game that's required a lot more movement. In fact, teams on average are moving almost 2 miles more per game than they were just a few years ago. So having this extra spacing has created a situation where players are having to move a lot more during games, which means teams need more depth. It's much harder to build a roster out around, say, 3 key stars and then just cycle role players around them indefinitely. You can't really do that so much anymore. No, now your role players are more valuable than ever because you have to travel so much on the floor. All the guys have to be completely in sync because the defenses They're good, but the shooting is that much better. The offenses are that much better. So knowing that guys simply can't run that much all game, every single game, you don't need just 3 players and then a couple of decent role players and you're fine. No, you need 7, 8. Look, LeBron and JJ Redick just talked about this on their podcast. You need 7, 8, maybe 9 guys in order to really compete in today's NBA. Again, taking us back to you can't load up with 3 stars in this league anymore. The NBA wants to dissuade teams from doing that, and they want to make sure that, hey, if you're going to have 3 stars on your roster, you're not going to have the depth that you need in order to compete in today's NBA where you're chasing 3-point shooters all over the court. You have to have more depth in order to win in today's league, and even if you do acquire that depth, you're probably only going to have them for a season, maybe 2, and then you're going to be priced out of your own guys, and those guys are going to get cycled off onto other teams. It's an interesting strategy by the Adam Silver-led NBA. They are banking on keeping fans engaged across the league rather than having those big, powerful dynasties drawing in eyeballs. Because let's face it, people will pay to see greatness. People will tune in to see teams that they think are great. But what the NBA wants is they want everybody to feel like they've got a shot year in, year out, and they want everybody to feel like they know where their team's at in their cycle. Are they in a rebuilding phase? Are they at that almost phase where they're a piece away? Are they contending? And then at what point do they start to drop off and you restart the team's life cycle all over again? But everybody, let me know what you think about the NBA and their decision to end dynasties. Some of the teams we look back on fondly, those teams will go by the wayside in favor of having a system where we can see a new champion every single year. Is this a smart move or a massive, massive mistake? Again, let me know in the comment section. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.